empower their teaching style and their of course students. So our initiative or here is called Be the Next MIEE. So it is a part of, or this is a work of our team, innovation or pioneers of innovation at Al Huitin. Speaking here is Hanan Dahri. I am the English lead teacher in Al Huitin School and MIEE 2021 2022 and 2021. Then we have Ms. Rabab Al-Sadiq. She teaches social studies and she is MIE 2021-2022. Our colleague Hanan Jamal, she teaches KG Arabic and she is MIEE 2021-2022. Of course, today we are with Ms. Aswani Mohan, who is our DT teacher at Al Huitin, and she is MIEE 2021-2022. And last session, hopefully some of you were with us. We were with Ms. Cynthia Ragunath, who is our physics teacher, and she is also MIEE 2021-2022. So for this session, inshallah, we will share registration link in a while and also session training code. So make sure, please, that you do both of them. We will share also the link to our channel in order for you to join. Perhaps later you may have any questions regarding MIEE application before the 7th of July. And of course, there, your certificates for today's training will be posted in that group. So please make sure that you join us and then you will be able to receive your certificate from there after the training, inshallah. If you do not wish, of course, to join the Telegram channel, no problem. Go back later to this link and I will post, if you wish, the certificates here as well. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much. I wish you all a successful session. Go ahead, please, Ms. Ashwani. You can start. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hanan, for the introduction. So good morning, everyone. We'll begin our session. Just a moment, let me share my screen.
Okay.
I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes.
All right. So, thank you, Ms. Hanan. So once again, good morning, all. Today's session is going to be about Microsoft Forms. So we will cover the tips for building great forms in Microsoft platform. So Microsoft Forms allows the Office 365 users to create custom surveys, quizzes, polls, and questionnaires. So it is a great way to ask quick questions and receive feedback or conduct surveys. So if you're using forms in your classroom or at work, so this could be a great evidence for your MIEE nomination. So let's get started. So the session description. So today we will explore 10 tips for building great Microsoft Forms. So let's begin with the difference between forms and quiz. So the difference between two is that in quizzes, you can add answer, you can add score and add math type questions and equations. Plus, you can add feedback for the selected answers, explaining why the selected answer is right or wrong, which is not there in forms. And there is also a feature in quizzes that is, you can also count the scores awarded, which is not there in forms. And also the post score option is available in quizzes, not in forms. So the difference is forms is a tool for collecting feedbacks and surveys. Quizzes can be used to assess the student learning, providing the instant results and feedback. So let's begin. So we'll start with the first tip. So the first question type that we are going to discuss today is the Likert question type. So this question is used to measure the respondent's attitude by measuring the extent to which they agree or disagree to a particular statement or a question. And this is one of the most widely used questions in surveys. where the user doesn't choose between a yes or no. Instead, you're providing them with specific choices. Okay, so the next question type, so before we move on, this is an example of the Likert question type. This is a kind of table arrangement where you can see the statements in rows and the options appears as columns. Okay, so the next question type is NPS. So NPS is a short form for Net Promoter Score, which is again a simple questionnaire which are actively used to measure the customer experience or satisfaction. So you can find this type of question in online shopping applications or websites where they ask for your experience, how you felt, like your experience while using that application. So you will get the high accuracy of response right after the interaction. So let's do some practical work in the Office platform, and then we will move on to the next section. So I can share the link. Just a minute. Yeah. So I'm sharing the Office link from which we can access forms. So once you go into the forms option in Office 365, you will find all the forms that you created. So these are the forms that I have been creating. I created for me, and you can filter your forms by clicking on the view option. You can choose between the list view and the tile view. So as we discussed earlier, the Office in Office 365, you can create forms and quiz. So we'll begin with forms and then we will move on to the quiz. So I'm going to create a new form. And I will add the title. And yeah, so let's start with the first question type, which we discussed. That is a Likert question type. So for this, you need to go to click on the plus sign, the add new option. And on the right side, click on more question type and choose a second option, the Likert question. So again, this is used to measure the attitude and opinion about a particular topic. So once you click on that, you can add your question. So I'm going to add a question. Let's say, how would you rate this session? And I'm going to add a couple of statements. Let's say I'll make it short. We'll add 2 statements. So the statement 1 is the training session was useful. And next, the training needs were met. So I'm adding 2 statements. And as for the options, I'm going to give 4 options. So completely disagree, somewhat disagree, and a neutral. And finally, completely agree. So this is an example of the Likert question type. Let's preview. So as you can see here, the respondent will get a question and they will go through the statement and they have a variety of choices. So this will give them an opportunity to provide let's say their opinions. Okay, so you will get more accurate feedback from the respondent using the Likert question type. So the next question type which we discussed was the NPS question type. So again, for this, you click on add new, go to the more question type, and the 4th one, Net Promoter Score. So once you click on this, you get a question, how likely are you to recommend us to a friend or colleague? And it starts from 0 to a 10. So 0 being the least and the extremely likely being the number 10. So the user can, based on his personal experience, he can give a feedback to us. Okay, so this is about the second type. And next, let's try another question, let's say a multiple choice. So for this multiple choice, I'm going to add, would you like to enroll for future training sessions with us? And I have an option, yes or no. So here the user chooses between a yes or no. And one thing in forms, since we are using forms, so in forms there is no option to choose a right answer. So this is for collecting feedback. So they can choose answer as per their choice. So there is no right answer or wrong incorrect answer. So but in quizzes you can actually set the right answer for the questions that you're asking to the respondent. Now the next tip that we are going to look at is branching. So branch is also a great tool for, the branching is a great tool for showing differentiation in your quiz or survey. It is used to have respondents skip certain questions that are not relevant to them. So this allows you to create different routes through your survey. So let's say based on the answer, based on the choice the user makes, they will be like, let's say they will be diverted to different questions. They will not answer the same question. So it's a great tool for differentiation. And in a survey or a quiz that in which we use branches or branching, the question appears only if they are relevant to the respondent. So not all questions are given to, it's not like a general quiz, it's a great tool for differentiation. So let's use branching in our forms. So another example is if you use branching in your forms, you will get to see this option. Like this is the icon for the shortcut for branching. So this will show that if you have used branching in your forms. Now, so I'm going to use branching here. So before I use branching, there is another tool called the sections, which you can use in your forms. So sections are used to break longer forms. Let's say you are creating a survey which has, let's say, more than 10 questions. So you can use sections that will make your respondents feel less overwhelmed. So you don't show all the questions at once and they are like, overwhelmed by all these questions. So it's better to use sections if you have long Microsoft Forms. So where you will create subgroups of questions, the related topics are put together as groups. So let's try to add branching and sections into our forms. So now that I have added the third question, would you like to enroll for future training sessions with us? So I don't think like the respondents who doesn't want to enroll for future training session should really go to the next question. So I can use branching here. So for using branching, I will click on the three dots, click add branching. And if the user chooses no, this is the end of the form. They don't really have to go to the next part of the survey. And now I will add section. So go to add new, just a minute. Yeah, okay. End of the form. Add new, and if you go to more question tab, you will find sections. So you will be asked to provide a section title. So for this, I'm going to add the title as future training recommendations. So as I told earlier, so the purpose of using branching here is they don't really have to go to the section 2 if they don't really want to enroll for the future training session. So if they choose yes, I'm going to branch for them to go to the next, or you can choose the section 2. So both works the same way. So I'm just making it next now. So for this section, I'm going to add a set of questions. Okay, so I'm going to add a question. So those who would like to enroll for the next training session, I would like to collect some information. Let's say, enter your name. And I can ask for them to choose their the day they for the training session. And I can add all options, so Sunday, Monday. Okay, so in here again, I can use branching because, so which day of the week do you prefer? So if you want, you can delete the option of the weekends, like let's say Sunday or Monday, which is totally not needed. So Monday to Friday. All right, so now once they choose the week or the day which they prefer for the training, let's ask another question to choose the timing. I'll choose the preferred timing. And so this is a simple form which we created using sections, NPS question type, a Likert question type. Let's preview. So this is a title that I provided for my forms. And the first question to rate the session, let's say, and I'm going to give a feedback on the recommendations. How would you like to enroll? Yes. So when I click yes, it goes to the next section. That is the future training recommendations. So here they will enter the name, they choose the day of the week they prefer for the training, and also they choose the timing they prefer for the sessions. So the next type is uploading a file with the answer. So in certain cases, if you want the user to upload a proof to support the answer, you can go for this question type, upload a file with your answer. And in this question type, they actually provide you with a set of file types. You can choose the one that you want your respondents to upload with. So I go to add new, click on more options and choose upload file. So click OK, and yeah, you can add the question. So I'm going to add the question, upload a file with recommendation for your future training session. So I'll make it clear, let's PDF or Word file. And I can choose the file number, the limit. So it's like 1 to 10. So you can choose as per your requirement. And you can also manage file size. And if you go to the more settings for the questions, you can find the file type. So once you go to the file type, you will see the allowed file type. So you can check the file types that you want your respondents to upload with. So I'm just keeping Word and PDF, and that's all. So now when I go preview, yes, I have this question. So in the question, they mentioned the number of files that you can upload, the file limit, the size that is permitted for your file should be 10 MB or less than 10 MB, and then allow file type as Word and PDF. So this is about forms. And also, I suggested you to use sections if you are if your form is going to be lengthier. But there is something that in mind, that if you are using sections in your forms and go to the more option and go to settings, you will not be able to shuffle questions. So in whatever order you put the questions, that's how the user will be seeing them. You cannot shuffle questions if you are using sections, or if your forms are more than one page or more than one, it has more than one section. You cannot shuffle question. And also, you can only show the progress bar. So I check the show progress bar option here, and I go to preview. So the show progress bar will show the every time you click on the question, like it shows how many page remaining. Let's say I have created 2 sections, which means 2 pages. So it will show the progress, which is allowed only if you use sections. Okay, so one thing that you should keep in mind is you cannot shuffle questions if you use section, and you can only show the progress bar if you use the section tab, the section option. Otherwise, the progress bar will not be shown. Let's now move on to the next part. So if you have any question, you can add your questions in the chat, which will be answered towards the end of the session. So let's quickly go back to the topics that we covered. So we discussed about the Likert question type. We went through the NPS question type, and we discussed about sections, why we use sections in forms. And also we missed themes. So in forms, you can add a theme, which means you can customize the background by choosing from the listed ideas, or you can make a plain color if you want. You can choose the background of your choice. So yeah, I have added this. Yeah, I added a theme. So like this, you can change your theme by theme option on the top right corner. Let's now move on to the quizzes. So let's go back to the form. And now let's create a quiz. So I'm going to create a new quiz. And the title of my quiz is going to be Quiz in Microsoft Forms. So I'm going to add a new question so that I'm asking my students to enter their name. And see, once you click on the quizzes option, you have an option to add points, and you can also add answers, so which is not there in forms. So that's a difference. That's one difference between a forms and a quiz. So I'm going to add one more question where I'm asking my students to enter their grade. Right, and the next question is from where I actually start my quiz. So the second question is, I am going to add a question related to my subject. Let's say, what's the purpose of keyboard? You can add a picture to support your question. Let's say if you're using this for the cycle one, maybe you can add a picture, which will be very useful for them. So you can search for So I added a picture, yeah. And now I'm going to add an option. So the first option. And the third option. So here, since this is a quiz, you can choose a right answer. So the right answer for this question is to input data such as letter, number, and punctuation. And also, as we discussed earlier, in the difference between forms and quizzes, in quiz, you can actually add a feedback, but this can be for the answers they choose, okay, to support their answer. Let's say you can see this little, the message icon, from using which you can add a comment for the student. Okay, let's say if they choose an incorrect answer, you can give them a hint. Okay, so by using this comment option. And also, if you go to the more options on the bottom of the question, there is an option to shuffle options. Let's say if you don't want the option to appear in the same order that you gave, you can choose to shuffle options. So I gave in a different order, and when I preview, the options actually got shuffled. You can shuffle the options, and you can also shuffle the questions. So this is one thing in a multiple choice question. You can shuffle the option, which can be done in forms and also in quizzes. So the next is tip in Microsoft Forms is drop-down list in Microsoft Forms. So a drop-down list is also same like my multiple choice question, where you provide them with a set of choices. Just a minute. Yeah. You provide them with a set of choices and they choose one answer from the given options. But the only thing is, if you use a drop-down list, minutes. Yeah, so you need to go to the question and click on the drop down options. And when you preview, the question actually comes as a drop down. So this is for, it can save space. If you have a lot of options, let's say more than 5 or 10 options, and the user need to choose from those, it will take up a lot of space. So in order to save space, you can use this drop down option, which will show the questions as drop down. So it appears only when you click on this little drop down option. So this is another tool. And next is equations in Microsoft Forms. So let's say if you are a math teacher or physics teacher and you have to use equations or formulas in your quiz, you can go for this option. So let's say add new. I'm going to add a multiple choice question. Solve for X. Choose the math option under the question. So here you will get an option to enter the equation. So I enter the equation. Solve for X. Sorry, I just put the incorrect equation. Okay. And now when you click on this, you will be suggested with the list of options. Let's try again. Yeah, so you will get the options. So I am adding all the options here. Okay. And the correct answer is automatically checked here. So if you want to use math equations, you can go for the math option. And once if you're using the math option in your question, the forms will provide you with a let's say a calculator with which allows you to type the equations. So let's try another question. Solve. Yeah, so here the students need to type the answer. So because I'm using the math question type, when I click on the text box, it provides me with a calculator where the user like a keyboard where the student can actually use this to input the functions and formulas. So going back to the PowerPoint. The last tip that we are going to cover is shuffling questions in Microsoft Forms. So shuffling is actually a setting that randomly shuffles the order of the question. So when you shuffle question, the responders see the questions in different sequence. So going back to the forms, you can find the shuffle option on the top right corner, more from settings, go to settings, and you will see the shuffle option. So once again, the shuffle option appears only if your quiz has, let's say, one page. If you add sections or add more pages, the shuffle option is actually disabled for you. And you have an option to shuffle all questions, or you can lock certain questions. So I choose all questions now and I go to preview, see the order of the question completely changed. But I feel like you don't really have to, let's say if you don't want to change the first and second question, let's say enter your name and enter your grade. You want that to be the first thing your student do when they open the quiz. You can lock those questions. You go to settings, go to shuffle option and click on lock questions, and I'm going to lock the first and second questions. So if you want to lock 5 questions, you choose 1 to 5. So I'm just locking the first and second question. Now when I preview, my first and second question is logged, it didn't shuffle, but the rest of the questions got shuffled. The sequence changed. So that is one thing about shuffle. And now let's go to the forms again, and I'll show you some settings which you can change based on your requirement. So go to more options and go to settings, and see you have an option to show the option for quiz. So this appears only for the quizzes. You will not find the same option for the forms that you created. This is the forms which I created before. If I go to settings, I don't find the option for quiz. Okay, that's only for the quizzes, not forms. And now you can choose who can fill this form. If you want anyone to respond, or you want people of your organization, you can choose from that. And another option is option for response. You can find the accept response option. So since I have this checked, when I'm sharing this link, everyone will be able to submit their response. If you want to, let's say, close the response, you don't want to accept any more response from your students or from users, you can uncheck this, and you can add a custom message if you want. Let's say, forms no longer responses. All right, so now okay, so I think I should share the link. So when I'm sharing the link and the user tried to submit the form, like submit the response, they will get a message that this form is no longer accepting responses. And you can set a start date or end date. And we discussed the shuffle question already. And see, for this quiz, I cannot see the progress bar because I didn't use any section. So for using section, you must use section, to enable progress bar, to enable progress bar, you must use sections in your forms or quizzes. Otherwise, this is disabled for you. And then you can add custom messages, and you can response receipts as you want. So these are some of the settings that you can customize as per your choice. So that's all. Let's if you have any questions about the topics that we covered today, you are free to ask any questions in the chat, or you can raise hand. Your mic will be enabled. So that's all for today's session. We covered about forms, some settings in forms and quizzes. So you're free to ask any questions. And the attendance link will be shared. Do you have to use branching in quiz or also in forms? You can use, Miss Lisa, thank you for the question. You can actually use branching in forms and quiz. You can use in both. So if you have any question, you are free to ask. Otherwise, please fill in the form for attendance, and your certificates will be shared. So if you have no question, thank you so much for your participation. Thank you, everyone. And you are provided with the session codes, which you can redeem you can redeem achievements. And also please fill in the attendance form, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Miss Ashwani. That was very informative. Thank you.
Thank you.
In the chat, I posted the registration link or the attendance link and also session codes. Please make sure that you click on both of them. And also, even in the form, there are embedded training session codes from previous training, if those prefer to improve their points in Microsoft Learn. Thank you.